Hey guys, your boy M.K.S here. Okay, I suppose it's a new day and I didn't quite manage to upload a video, which I talked about my plan to upload a video each day. But anyway, I thought I was quite tired, so I was thinking of going to bed, but I thought this idea, so I wanted to share it before I go to sleep. So like it's 1:45 in the morning, if you know what I mean, here in the UK. But yeah, my dream is one of my dreams, which I pray for, is to not sure if God would hear me or this is my prayer, but or basically a dream of mine, which I hope God would help me with, which is to help Iraq to get back all the money which their oil would have made for them, plus 10% interest, as I believe it was robbed, in my opinion, from the due to the invasion of Iraq. So it's like a quest of mine, a dream of mine, to sort of reparate Iraq and maybe even more money than that, really, because of all the division that's created and all the injuries and deaths and destruction which has stopped. There's not just the oil that was taken out of the country, arguably, but also the other things that might have been taken, and also opportunities and buildings that were destroyed and things like that. So I'd love to be able to fundraise to build, and I hope God will support me with this idea, and I hope God agrees with me, but to inspire my sins, as I say, but to because I believe that's justice, like the Bible says, do not steal or kill or trespass. So I believe it's the right thing to I hope God would support that kind of, as I would see it, justice, to get them back that reparation. And I'm actually even looking from it, possibly, like I'm personally looking from it from a Christian point of view. But yeah, I'd love to hear what other people think, like for people Christian or people from different religions, Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, Jewish people, whatever religion. Do they believe that Iraq was robbed, and therefore do they believe it's right that they should get compensation? I talked before about I would love to I'd love to reparate a lot of Asia, like India, Vietnam. More modern cases would be Iraq and Vietnam. The most modern being, I suppose, Iraq, and as I say, Vietnam, and then going back further, like countries like India. And I got to admit, I think there's a lot of, should be careful what I say, but I think there's a lot of corruption in China and prejudice and all that. So I want to talk, as it's the 13th, and I say it's an unlucky number, with my theme about Asia, I want to talk about some of the dark side of Asia, or the negative side, like the prejudices, corruption, and things like that. But even China, I think, if you look at Britain took over China and divided China into different countries. So in a way, I think even China, though I disagree with a lot of about China, I still think even they should be reparated. So I'd love to reparate all of Asia, but I thought talking individually, like countries like Iraq, India, and Vietnam, countries like that, and China, and each possible Asian nation, talking about what countries colonized them, how much wealth they took out of those countries, how much that wealth will be worth today in today's money, how many opportunities were taken away from those countries, which would have made them have even more wealth. So as I say, I'd love to hear what my fellow Christians or people who are Muslim or whatever other religion think about this view, or what biblical arguments, or whatever, again, whatever religion, or even atheists, what arguments people would have, and what quotes. Like obviously religious people can refer to the Bible or the Quran or whatever, and give quotes about why they think Iraq should be reparated, and on also what through listening to this video, if you hear what, hopefully my voice is clear enough and all that, but if I'm making any sense as well, does it make you change your ideas or think of different thoughts like maybe you thought before you watched this video, maybe you thought I never really thought about supporting Iraq, but now I think actually it feels really just to support Iraq and to come up with ideas like crowdfunding ways or finding ways of putting pressure on governments and saying we want to find a way to support Iraq. Like if I made had enough views on my YouTube channel, how I'd love to support Iraq, and as I would see it, instead of rewarding countries, that's one of the reasons why I would never want to pay tax if I could help it, because rather than rewarding countries that took over other countries, I think it would be much better to, as I say, instead of rewarding Britain or America or else, whichever other countries for taking over Iraq, I would much rather give my money to. To me, it'd be like paying tax would be very. It'd be a big dilemma for me, because although some of that money could go towards helping people, but a lot of it with corrupt governments could go towards, and probably all governments are corrupt in a way, but it would go towards helping like the wars and weapons trade, which gets like, I think in the UK alone, it gets like 5 billion a year in subsidies. So all the money that's spent on weapons and all that, and if I could target it specifically on buildings like education centres and making sure the money doesn't go into corrupt things or organisations, and is used to de-radicalise people rather than actually radicalise people. And as I say, if I thought about, to me, it's like, would I rather reward someone who steals or robs or burgles someone's house, or would I rather or would I rather support the person who had their houses burgled? If you know what I mean, hope that makes some sort of sense. So to me, like supporting Iraq is like supporting the victim who had their house burgled. But if I paid taxes towards the British or American governments, trying to be careful what I say, but that to me would be like supporting, in my opinion anyway. And you know, people are entitled to disagree, but using as much freedom of speech as I can while we still have it, hopefully. To me, it would be like supporting people who burgle houses. And there's quite a few things I wish mixed race people would never do, like join the militaries, any military, or use violence or be in gangs, commit crimes, harm other people, change the way. I'm not holier than thou, not like hugely religious or anything. I know I'm talking about God, but I wouldn't want us to get tattoos or piercings or anything that's artificial or unnatural that changes the way God made our physical bodies, like plastic surgery or anything like that. I think we should be, as much as possible, be the way God made us, although I kind of believe in, like, you can get your hair trimmed or things that are natural, like you can cut your nails or trim your hair and all that, but like grooming, but not change the way, I'm not a big fan of, although I think it kind of is art, but personally I would rather mixed race people didn't, along with joining the militaries or using violence or committing crimes or hurting other people or whatever, or treating other people as we would not ourselves wish to be treated, being rude or ill-mannered or things like that. Although I think sticking up for yourself or using violence if you need to defend yourself or your family or other people who are vulnerable. But if you see, the thing is, like, some people might say the military protects us, but if you look at the Iraq War, a lot of people in the military itself might disagree with the wars. Like, they might even think the Iraq War is wrong. But if you join, the problem with joining the military is you have to do what the government says. You can't say, I don't want to go to this war because I think it's immoral. So you have to, especially if you think the government's corrupt. So like, if it was up to me, if God would support me, I'd say I wish that mixed race people wouldn't join the military or gangs or use violence as in self-defense or defense of the vulnerable, if we're taking it literally, or get piercings or tattoos or things that change our natural bodies artificially, including, dare I say, like gender realignment or anything like that. I don't think we should do any of that sort of thing. I think if God made us, in my opinion, so this is a controversial opinion, but if God made us to be male, I think we should. Although I kind of contradict myself because I'm trying to be honest as well, if I'm going to say that, but because I see myself quite effeminate, so I suppose you could say, well, if God made you to be a man, you should be more, or male, you should be more macho, or not macho necessarily, but you should be a bit more manly at least, and not too effeminate, and have a broad voice or things like that, or want to be a provider or things like that. And like, so I disagree with God in some areas, like in terms of relationships. I replace the P with a T. If you're old enough to understand what I'm saying, understand it. But so there are areas where, if I was honest, I disagree. But anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm probably waffling, but I'd love to know what people think about that. Do you think whatever I've said already, what are your thoughts on that? And also, actually, I'll probably leave this video with a question, actually. And I've gone on a bit, it's over 10 minutes, nearly 11 minutes, actually. But if you believe that Iraq should be reparated, what sort of ways do you think are the best ways to reparate Iraq? Like, I talk about building buildings like education centers, training centers, de-radicalisation centers, anti-imperial buildings, business development centers, as I say, training in all sorts of areas, science, engineering, maths, entrepreneurship, learning English, learning how to trade internationally, getting mentorship and all sorts of things like that. So in the future, maybe I'll even come up with another 30-point list of how to support Iraq and things like that. So yeah, as I say, I'd love to hear any ideas or any ways, like fundraise for people in Iraq and all that sort of thing, to make up for buildings that have been destroyed, rebuilding them and things like that. So anyway, love to know what you think about this video. Obviously, please feel free to agree or disagree as you see fit. All views welcomed. Freedom of speech and all that, so please feel free to disagree and say, or preferably agree, but whichever way you like. Peace on.